Welcome to this edition of ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley, along with
Lennice Najib.
And we want to let you know that this edition has been brought to you by Brian Pacheco, who is running for Fresno County Supervisor District 1, whose focus is on safe, reliable water, middle-class jobs, and safe schools and neighborhoods. And we want to let you know this episode will bring up the conversation we had again with Tate Hill because we have the Urban Leadership Conference that's coming up this week.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah, and that's on Wednesday of this week, October 15th, and he'll be talking about the importance of that. We also have the Town Hall by the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce that's coming up this week, and that's on Wednesday. And in fact, we'll be filming that and letting people know maybe in a couple weeks they'll get to see that whole thing. And purpose of the town hall is to be able to bring to light some of those urban issues that are relevant here in the Central Valley. And how to tackle that with businesses. So we'll hear that excerpt again from Tate Hill, who will talk about the Town Hall and the Urban Leadership Conference. We'll also hear an excerpt from Valley Black Talk Radio. As you know, we've been on 1680 AM.
Yes,
mixture of gospel and real news, real talk from local to national. How are you liking it so far?
Oh, I love it. You know, I was on the last show talking, I actually called in and made some comments about what's going on and concern of the candidacy of people running. So I think it was a good mouthpiece, and it's
and we're trying to let people know the call. I think they're afraid because we're still getting those text messages, people saying you should talk about this, you should talk about that, and we want them to be able to call in and not be so fearful.
Well, they're not used to it right now. They're not used to the transitions and the chants. So we try to make it more homely and more friendly to have them call in. So just call in and give us your opinion.
Yes, you can always hear Valley Black Talk Radio and also rebroadcast of this episode of ONME Sunday Mornings from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on 1680 AM. Thereafter, it's a live show with Valley Black Talk Radio, myself, Jewel Riversmith, and also Mel Sanders from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. And that's where we really get to talk extended. I like to say extended talk on issues that for 3 hours between gospel, at least the last 2 hours, we get to challenge head on.
Yes.
We also want to remind people that this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And here's a fact that people may not know, and we want to make sure you, our watching audience, knows that breast cancer is the second most common cause of cancer death among African American women, surpassing lung cancer.
Wow.
And so so we challenge people to do the buddy checks or to get checked out. And you can find out more information about these facts at sistersnetworkinc.org. And if you look at the screen, sistersnetworkinc.org, and you can find out more about those breast cancer facts. And we need to be aware, because I know one thing about our culture is about we're afraid to go to the doctor.
Wow, that afraid?
That afraid to go to the doctor.
For what, they're afraid?
I think the fear comes from, well, it could be a number of reasons. I know sometimes there's misdiagnosis. I know sometimes people don't have a trust in the doctors. You know, there's different reasons for that. You know, why people have that fear of not wanting to go to the doctor. But at least people need to have more knowledge and understanding of breast cancer. And this would be the time to find out more about it. Also, we want to also acknowledge Hispanic Heritage Month. And we always want to give a kudos to that because we think it's important that we learn about everyone's culture.
Yes.
Just like there's Black History Month, there's also Hispanic Heritage Month, which is just as important and is very much a part of American culture. So we always tell people to find out more about who we are as an American people. And I guess I want to get right into our Fresno news. I thought this was some interesting news. And this is where a white Fresno parole officer who says he lost on a promotion because of discrimination, lost in his case against the California Department of Corrections.
Wow.
And the jury voted 9-3. The fact that Andrew Mountain is white was not a significant reason for the decision to promote an African American ahead of him. Some people are wondering, well, how is that? Why would he even try to maybe have a case like this or try to have an affirmative action? You know, that's questionable to me. I don't get it because when you look at the two candidates as far as the qualifications, Mount has a business degree and his competitor has a criminology degree.
Well, I guess he's trying to get attention. To me, it looked like a publicity stunt or some sort of attention that he's trying to garner. But
I don't think it's about attention. I really think that he significantly thinks he was a better candidate. You know, he was.
Well, if they both have degrees, one
is a business degree, one's
but
criminology.
he is more into alignment of what they're looking for.
Right.
If they're not looking for him and this other qualification criteria that he has to reach, he shouldn't be. I don't think it's warrant that he should
really
compare
warrant
himself.
having a case, a discrimination case? That's what I'm concerned about. I don't see this as a discrimination case. I think in this manner it was equitable. And even though Mount's attorney is going to appeal this verdict, I think we need to look at, I think the article was saying it, this person has a business degree, Mount, whereas his competitor, the one that is, he's saying, African American that didn't deserve it, has a criminology degree. Hint, hint, criminology. So I don't know if that in itself might be racist, him trying to go up against someone else who he feels is not qualified. He's basically saying, according to my standards, the person that you all put in this position, even though they have a criminology degree, is not qualified.
Well, he's just a little disgruntled, I think, because he didn't get the position. So
Obviously.
this is his way of doing a grievance, or placing a grievance on this, and actually filing something that I can see if the person did not have a degree, if the person wasn't qualified at all, and then they gave it to him, but he has no merit. He has no ground to stand on.
Right. And this really shouldn't have been a color issue. I think he's created a color issue. And these are the dynamics that we talk about when we're saying, is race an issue in America? Or we try to say that it's not. The town hall meetings I know that Joel Riversmith has talked about on 1680 AM, where they're acknowledging or saying that, there shouldn't be any white-black issues. Well, this creates that issue once again, and I point these type of articles out so that we can be able to adjust our lenses of how we see the world.
You think he might be a little jealous?
I think it kind of goes past that. I really think there's a stereotyping of this person can't be more qualified than me. And that is that inner racism that sometimes people don't realize, and it
might go into the fact that this person's house is bigger than mine, so I'm gonna do something to his house compared to mine.
With houses, though.
I'm just giving an example
when
of
you're
jealousy.
That example, I don't think there's jealousy because he is clearly saying he claimed discrimination. He's claiming discrimination. That
unfair. He's been unfairly treated in the employment category
because he is white. That's what he's saying. But in all reality, I think this has to do with the justice of backgrounds. One is a business degree and the other is criminology. I'm just trying to point that out. This has nothing to do with race, but I think he's throwing the race card in here where this probably wouldn't be the relevant place to do it. And hence we go into the stereotypes of what he's doing, creating that stereotype of what he feels African Americans are not as qualified as him. I mean, that's the way it's appearing. That's the way it's coming off in that particular story. And that's a local story. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But they will appeal, so we'll see if they get that appeal. And then meanwhile, in California news, the California prison system loses its bid to overturn a $1 million discrimination award. So this is ironic. Fresno's not trying to look at discrimination. California, on the other hand, it's a big discrimination case. And so the Sacramento Appellate Court has upheld a jury's verdict that racial discrimination motivated state prison officials to fire an African-American employee and then lie about key facts of her dismissal at a trial. So they're going to be awarding her over $1 million in damages, plus 7% annual interest from the date of the verdict. And there's proof on this, and this is based on Terrelyn Renfro. So they're also going to be paying for her court costs and all of those things. And why this is happening, like I said, modern day, these are issues we have to begin to talk about and somehow deal with when we're looking at discrimination. And that was a sincere discrimination case. Nationwide, I think people may not be aware of that, but one thing that African Americans are so aware of when it comes to their hair, hair grease and making sure that it's prepped and fine and to the line. And so we want to recognize a pioneer and African-American entrepreneur, Comer Cantrell, who died at the age of 82, according to bizjournals.com. Comer Cantrell was actually the founder of Proline, the Proline products. And he moved it from Southern California to Dallas, Texas.
He was actually, he made his first $1 million company in the early 70s, 73?
Yes.
1973?
But just in the first few years, that tells you how much we needed some products, some real grease to go
Back then, $1 million was $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million was bona fide, maybe about $5 million actually. And so in 1988, the company became the largest African-American owned firm in the Southwest. So we just want to make sure we give ode to him. It was he also brought the predominantly African American Bishop College in 1990 and financed the renovation and relocation of Paul Quinn College there, according to the D magazine.
And I heard that he eventually sold it for $75 million.
Yes, $75 million for the pro line, right?
Yes, for the pro line.
Ooh, I guess you can do it.
$75 million sold. Wow.
And that was sold to Illinois-based Alberto Culver and their manufacturing beauty products company. But we still want to give an ode to this pioneer. You know, he made waves, literally made waves. With the Pro Line product, you could make waves in your hair and also have a little bit of grease and also style.
Yes. I know a lot of, in the African American community where I was from in Richmond, I know a lot of the people there, especially a lot of my friends was using that particular product and to make their waves and curls and everything else. So I know he made a lot of money in the community where I live at.
He made a lot of money and made a lot of people's hair, black folks' hair look nice. So.
Yes.
And also our last national news story deals with the Nielsen and Essence survey. And it says that black consumers rank Afro #1 among country's newspapers. Why is this important? Because we want to know what African Americans are reading. So according to this survey, and Nielsen is like the provider of ratings and measurements and so forth, and so they combine themselves with Essence to do a rating sheet to find out what are the top 5 African American newspapers. #1 is the Afro in Baltimore. #2 is Amsterdam News, that's in New York City. The Call and Post, which is in Cleveland, Ohio, and the Chicago Defender, of course, is in Chicago, and St. Louis American.
I know with the Afro in Baltimore, what they mainly use is the digital aspect of it.
Yes,
so when
do.
they use the Facebook, they send it out there, you see an article and you just quickly read it. So, and then you can share it, so it spreads real quick. So they use the technology now to get that word across about their content. So
and you have to if you're trying to compete in this market with other newspapers. And the difference with African American newspaper, it serves a specific niche. And as Nielsen also proved, that African Americans like to read what they trust or read something that's more relative or germane to themselves, to their own culture, which is understandable amongst any culture, any ethnic group. That's what Nielsen did, a combined rating with Essence, and so now we know what people are reading. And we will be right back after the short break. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We'll be back to hear a rebroadcast of Tate Hill talking about the upcoming Urban Leadership Conference. So stay tuned.
I'm Brian Pacheco, and I'm running for supervisor because our community and its future are very important to me. My family has been in farming here for 4 generations. This is the real California, where hard work and strong families are the norm, not the exception. Working together, we can improve our schools, drive gangs and crime away from our homes and our neighborhoods, and bring good jobs to our district. I'm Brian Pacheco, and I would be honored to receive your vote.
An important message for Americans in need of health insurance. If there's been a recent change in your life, you are eligible for immediate protection under the Affordable Care Act. If you're uninsured because you missed the enrollment deadline, we can help. To get the protection you need, you can visit the Healthcare Exchange and spend hours exploring your options. Or you can make a single call to Health Markets and let us do the legwork for you at no cost or obligation. Health Markets Insurance Agency searches thousands of health insurance plans on the exchange and off, from more than 120 leading companies like United Healthcare, Humana, and more. We'll find you the right insurance coverage and guarantee the lowest price for plans we offer. And if you qualify for a government subsidy, we'll make sure you get the tax credits you deserve. Talk to us on the phone or meet with a local licensed representative. Why pay more than you have to or risk going without the coverage you need? Put our free service to work for you.
Call Health Markets today at 1-800-958-1057. That's 1-800-958-1057.
AMPTV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
One new media expression, ONME, brings you a repeat broadcast of ONME Sunday Mornings from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Sunday, followed by
live radio with Valley Black Talk Radio from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. on 1680 a.m. Here's every Sunday from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. on 1680 a.m. One new media expression on me.
Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, and I'm here with guest Tate Hill, who is the CEO and president of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Tate.
Thank you.
We're so glad that you could be here because we wanted you to tell us about the Urban Leadership Conference that's coming up and the Town Hall meeting October 14th. So tell us more, I guess, about the Town Hall first.
Yes, so this year we're doing something a little bit different, and we're partnering with AMP TV to actually do a televised State of the Fresno Black Community Town Hall Forum, and really to look at important issues within the African American and urban community, from business, education, workforce development, and banking and finance. And we're bringing together some of our top African American leaders in all those different areas. And we're going to really just talk about, what are some of the priorities and issues as it relates to the African American community, and how can we do more than just talk about them, but how can we address them?
That's what I was just going to ask. Is
Definitely.
there an action plan that's always set up behind afterwards? How do you implement such an action plan?
Well, then that carries us to the next day,
Okay.
our Fresno Urban Leadership Conference, where we will, the town hall will be a microcosm of the Urban Leadership Conference. And at that conference, we'll talk about some of the same topic areas, but then there will be full-fledged panels that will discuss those different topic areas, again, in business, education, healthcare, and workforce development. And out of those panels, they'll look at some of those priority issues that the community has put together. And then at that workshop, we're also going to have some discussions with the community, with the participants. We're, asking our community leaders to come and really look at what are some things that we can do. And really, any event like this is always about momentum, but then, of course, is what you do after the momentum.
Right.
And so we'll be looking at engaging with the community going forward after the conference, now that we've had all these great ideas and strategies that come forward. How do we then put together action plans, and how do we get the resources to make that happen?
How can people be involved? Do they have to be part of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, or can they become a member at the conference? How can they get involved, the average person?
Definitely. Well, one, we're going to encourage them to watch it on AMP TV. And so that's a great way. And now we saw that as a way to bring these issues to the masses, right? There's really no place that's big enough to hold all 50,000 African Americans here in Fresno County. But we said by televising it, it creates access for a larger group. Also, we'll be looking at, what are current organizations doing to address some of these issues? Some of the institutions, what are they doing? They may have volunteer opportunities. They may need certain types of resources and connections. And, the community will have those opportunities to engage in that way. And so we're inviting our members, stakeholders, community leaders to come and be a part of that day. But again, the real action happens after the conference.
After the conference. And when you say after well, let's talk about during the conference. What are some key issues that you feel as a business leader in this community are challenges?
Definitely. So what we decided to do is to go beyond just Tate Hill's perspective or Julia's perspective or any one individual, right? We all got our perspective. And you get 10 of us in a room and we're going to have 10 different perspectives and priorities. And so we said, and we've been doing a survey for really the last 5 years, and that's been an impetus of our conference as to what are the priorities within the African American community. And we go out, community events, churches, we survey online, and we get somewhere around 150, 200 responses every year, and really look at what are the priorities.
This has been a collective thing, then you're talking
Yes.
over a 5-year period.
Yes, so we have data to look at for the last 5 years, and we took things that we were hearing in the community, but we really wanted to know, okay, what should be our priority? We can't do everything at the same time. We don't have every time money, and so if we have limited resources, how can we really address that? And so, for example, in education, which I know you have a passion for,
I do.
one of the issues was making education a priority in the home. And that has been kind of an overwhelming #1 priority for the last couple of years. And so in our past discussions, we've talked about how do we do that? How do we actualize that? How do we make that happen? What's the role of the community versus the household versus the school?
And that's hard because
Definitely.
having to manage business, and you're thinking about from single parent homes to entrepreneurs that have their own business and they're trying to stay afloat, that's a lot to manage at one time.
It can be.
And family.
It can be.
And
Yeah,
husband
definitely.
or
Right.
wife.
Yeah, definitely.
And kids.
Yeah, that whole balance. And so we're really looking at how do we address that and what are some of the resources toward that. So we're not starting from scratch and saying no one's not doing anything, but maybe they're not effectively engaging the African American community, or maybe there are things that are happening in the African American community that maybe some of these institutions don't know that's working very well. And so we want to bring all those things to light. And we think also, during some of those discussions that the community and the participants will have opportunity to share and tell us, what's really going on.
And after the conference, now let's talk about the after effects. What are the steps to take to make sure people are taking the information they got from the conference and taking it to the next level?
Definitely. So one, now that we have some great internal resources through, we have a great team of college educated young people that are working with the chamber through a Vista program and some other things. Now we have some resources to really kind of bring the human resources to what we need to do. And so so they'll be taking that information, the ideas that come out of that, and really looking at how do we create some kind of action plans. We also have our Fresno African American Community Exchange, which is an opportunity for African American led organizations and professionals to connect with each other, and we do that on a monthly basis. And so, that is a great way to connect and to keep us on track on a monthly basis to find out what we really can do within the African American community to address that, and then take those suggestions to our funders and supporters and say, this is what the community said was important. Here's what the main stakeholders said they needed to do, and here's now a course of action that we think will help address that issue. And we need your resources to help make that happen.
So you've got larger stakes in the community or collaborators that are supposed to be able to assist the chamber, and then you're also assisting other organizations.
Definitely. We realize we can't do it alone. No one particular organization. Right, yeah, we can't. This is not something NAACP can do all by itself, or our Urban League, or United Black Men, or a chamber for that matter, or a government. I mean, it takes a collaborative effort. It's that whole African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, and so it takes a whole community to raise a community.
Right.
And so we need to really take that to heart, and we're doing that during this conference.
Back to the October 14th town hall. Is that selected, or you already have your group selected for that, I assume?
Yeah, because we can't have everyone in the audience, but we will have key individuals, key community leaders. Part of also the premise behind the Urban Leadership Conference is to showcase African American professionals, business owners, and leaders. A lot of times that we don't know. There are a few select that a lot of people know, but there are some people doing some really dynamic things that we don't know within the African American community or the mainstream community. And so it's also an opportunity to showcase and to highlight individuals that are doing great things within the community. And so that town hall group will consist of that. But again, the community doesn't have to worry that they're going to be left out. They're going to be able to watch it on TV.
Okay, gotcha. So we thank you for helping us to understand the importance of us all being at the Urban Leadership Conference. And that again is October 15th for the Urban Leadership Conference. We need to be there at what time?
The program starts at 8 a.m.
So be there at 7.
Yes, 7:30, right? Not 8:30,
Okay.
because we're going to have a very special presentation And you'll have to go to our website to get more information about it, www.fmbcc.com. That's going to be from 8 to 8:30.
Okay.
If you're not there, you'll just totally miss it.
Totally miss it.
And
Okay.
so you don't want to miss it. We're doing some great things there. So it's a great opportunity to participate in the workshops. If someone's really wanting to go and maybe they don't have the financial resources, give us a call. We have some great sponsors that will have some spaces available. So let us know. We want the community to be a part of it.
Okay, and if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll find where you can get more information about the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce Urban Leadership Conference that's coming up this week. And you can go straight to that website and get your tickets still.
You can,
Or
you can still register online. Mhm.
And if you do need help, you also see the phone number there that you can also call. Tate, we'd like to thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being on ONME Sunday Mornings. You're always welcome. We always
Glad to always
appreciate
be
you.
here.
And we will be right back after this short break.
The Psychic Source has been giving over 1 million quality psychic readings to North American customers since 1989. Call for questions about love, relationships, careers, and more. If you're not happy with your psychic reading, it's free. That's a no-risk guarantee. Call the Psychic Source today, the oldest, most respected, and authentic psychic service available for over 25 years. Call the Psychic Source at 1-800-261-2255. That's 1-800-261-2255.
An important message for Americans in need of health insurance. If there's been a recent change in your life, you are eligible for immediate protection under the Affordable Care Act. If you're uninsured because you missed the enrollment deadline, we can help. To get the protection you need, you can visit the Healthcare Exchange and spend hours exploring your options. Or you can make a single call to Health Markets and let us do the legwork for you at no cost or obligation. Health Markets Insurance Agency searches thousands of health insurance plans on the exchange and off from more than 120 leading companies like United Healthcare, Humana, and more. We'll find you the right insurance coverage and guarantee the lowest price for plans we offer. And if you qualify for a government subsidy, we'll make sure you get the tax credits you deserve. Talk to us on the phone or meet with a local licensed representative. Why pay more than you have to or risk going without the coverage you need? Put our free service to work for you.
Call Health Markets today at 1-800-958-1057. That's 1-800-958-1057.
Fresno County needs leaders who will fight for our community values. That's family farmer Brian Pacheco. Brian will fight for new jobs and to deliver water to our farms and family. And he'll work with law enforcement leaders to crack down on gangs and violent crime. Brian Pacheco, small business owner, school board member, our choice for supervisor.
I'm Brian Pacheco, and I would be honored to receive your vote.
AMPTV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
We like coffee too here, you know, and tea. Yeah, we like coffee and tea.
Well, Cafe Aroma's gonna thrive.
You know, that we drink coffee in urban areas, right? The local coffee shop. Everyone doesn't want to go to the big brand coffee shop. Sometimes you really just want to be able to support a local business where you're going to know the people that are there. They're going to know you by name. And this is one of the places that I'm going to look forward to having a lot of meetings and inviting people to this location.
1, 2, 3.
Cafe Aroma.
We are located at 550 North Fulton Street in Fresno, California, right before Belmont Avenue. Find out more. AMPTV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley. Stay up or set your DVR for AMPTV programming on KC24 from 1 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Saturday at 1 a.m. on KC24.
Valley Black Talk here at 1680. I'm Mel Sanders along with Joe Roger-Smith and Junior W. Najee. And we're going to have a little, I guess, heated discussion here because we've been told that we need to let folks know that the African American vote is very important.
Yes.
And so, since it's important, we need to stress the fact to those candidates that are running for office that they really need to do a strong outreach to get to the community, because we can make the difference. The African American vote can make the difference. When you look across the country, it does. I mean, when we turn out, things happen. Candidates win, parties win. So I think they need to really make an effort to seek our support and our interests. Get our folks out to vote. What do you think, Ms. Joe?
I think the first people that we need to convince that we really make a difference is us.
Exactly.
So that we turn out and,
I heard something interesting this past week about Ferguson and how the voter registration has jumped tremendously.
Wow.
So they're looking for this November to be a very impactful election season in Ferguson, and it's just because of that. I'm precisely because of that fact. And I know that when all of the rioting, the marching was going on, and they reported to be rioting when a lot of
because the anarchists come from out of town, and start riots, but
so,
that's not what the people were
doing. That was
doing.
the media that was saying that, as far as anarchists coming from
Well, but I think they do. I think they did it in Oakland. I think there are whole anarchist movements that just
purposely come out.
That purposely come. They did it in Seattle with the World Trade Organization. They purposely come to upset because, of course, anarchists don't want any kind of rule.
Sure.
And that's not very often what the people in that community are doing. The people who are protesting or demonstrating really want to make a demonstration. They don't come out to break the windows. Okay,
right.
We want to make a demonstration. But then you got these outside elements that come in, and
we get to be on TV. Really. Yeah. Well, you know what? They got tanks now. So what used to be that they put your handcuffs and take you away, you could be very easily shot
or injured, like the young man in Oakland who got hit with the projectile. And,
So what do you think those changes need to happen here in Fresno when we're looking at the black vote?
I think we meet more in the African American community than any other group in this country. I mean, we meet 52 weeks a year, sometimes 3 times a week. So those should be opportunities where we capitalize on informing our community the importance of voting. And I think a lot of folks just don't, in leadership positions, have not mastered a way to get that to their congregations or to their organizational people, because politics can be real dicey and can be with consequences if you're not on the right side. So a lot of people would rather not be involved or talk, and I hate to hear this from ministers in particular. We don't want to get involved in politics. We don't want politics in the church. Well, when I hear that, it tells me they really don't understand, the structure of the church, because everything in there is political. You got to go to the deacon board for this and the trustees for this, and so that let's take it from there and put it to the day-to-day lives of folks who attend these churches. They need to have a voice to speak for them when they're being mistreated on their jobs, when something's not coming up that needs to come up and nobody's there to speak. So it's important to have a representative, and when you have elected people that you've invested your time and energy to make sure that they're your representatives, they need to have they need to be carrying your agenda and not the agenda of what you said last week with the people with all the money. At the end of the day, the people with all the money can't outvote the people if you got the masses. The key is making sure that you get those masses to participate. And that's my argument with the politics of folks who are involved today, particularly the consultants. They never, ever go outside of the norm of who votes on an ongoing basis.
And where are the consultants from? Because I know that even if we look at our company, the people that we're having to deal with are usually in Southern California.
Yeah, out of state. Yeah,
right.
Or out of this community.
Out of our community.
Yeah. And an awful lot, and they do that because they have a track record, and so they're able to, when you have a system that you've mastered and that you can take it and overlay in another community, and the folks that need your services look at it and say, well, it worked there, so this guy must know what he's doing, or she must know what she's doing. So let me see if I can hire them to come in and help me to win. So,
but it still leaves out the black
of
community,
course,
the black
it
voice
leaves out all of
every
the
time.
all of the voices that are outside that normal circle, and they're not all African American, but
Right.
I'm speaking of that because I know that our folks can be energized and motivated to vote, but you have to give them a reason to do that. In order to get to the reason, you got to spend some money.
Right.
And so if you're not going to spend any money, you think we're going to do this because, well, you know, you're the goodness of your heart, and you know, you're going to support the party, and you know, and a lot of them.
Well, okay, so is the answer that you have to spend money, or is the answer that you have to get them fired up about something? Because you don't have to spend any money necessarily to tell people. You realize that they're putting that nuclear waste plant in your backyard, right? I mean, if that's not a good enough reason to get out and vote, I don't know what is.
That comes, in my view, that comes with the informed voter. Those folks that are at least halfway watching the news every day, and they kind of get an idea of what's going on. But in our community, we've been silent for so long and misused and abused.
We've been bamboozled.
Yes. For so long that we're not. We built a callus. We hear this and we're numb to that. So in order to change that, it's going to take some money, because money is the key to the door to opens their minds. And I'm not saying give them the dollar, but there's got to be some things that you can put together that's going to mobilize them to say, okay, well, I'll be with this, even though at the end of the day they're really going this way, but you've mobilized them to go this way. Now when they're over here, oh, by the way, why don't we do this while we're here? And bing, look what happened. So you know, that's the approach that I believe is the one that can turn our community around and wake them up. The traditional stuff, putting yard signs out, television ads, you know.
That's so 19th century.
Yeah.
Unless
Unless
it's connected to something that they, you said it earlier, something they want to be a part of or they're paying attention to, you just, you know, you're throwing good money out the bag. Because, you know, I know what I do when I see on regular mainstream TV commercials. Unless it's like the ones that I heard 30 years ago or 25 years ago with Bruce, I can't even say his name, Bruce Hershington. I can't say the last name right, but he was a talk show host down in Southern California, and his commercials were killing the state senator from California, not Dianne Feinstein, but the other one, Boxer. In fact, he was so far ahead in the polls that everybody knew that he was going to be going to Washington, because his commercials, a couple of them that I remember real clear, is one of them that, you know, he talked about how so many politicians are chauffeured back and forth to the airport and blah, blah, blah. And just before he concluded his commercial, he says, oh, and by the way, I can drive myself to the airport. And so and then he talked about the one about in Washington, they have pages that, or people that work elevators. They that's their job. And you know, he knew that most people didn't know that that's a tradition and that's what they do in halls of Congress. They have people that will, you know, take you to the floor and do that kind of thing. He says, before he ended the commercial, he says, can't they push the buttons themselves? And boy, it just, I mean, folks who didn't know, it resonated with them. And they, yeah, I'm not going to vote for that politician that wants somebody to push the buttons for him. I want to vote for this guy. And then he had a stroke of bad luck. Remember Pee Wee Herman?
I love Pee Wee. You mean the whole park incident?
Well, yeah.
How was he involved with that?
Well, he wasn't. I'm just saying the same thing happened to Hershington that happened to him. Somebody was standing by a movie theater, and he came out with his trench coat. So
that kind of theater?
Yes. One of those.
So, the one where you learn the alphabet.
Yeah.
Well, one letter in the alphabet. You learn it 3 times.
That's a great idea. I never thought of it that way, Joel.
Yeah. So he was, you know, his commercials were the kinds of commercials that were, you know, that hitting and that folks would remember, that I guess had some political inclination. But for the most part in our community, to get back to what we talked about, how do you get the African American vote to be greater participants?
Right.
You have to have something that's going to mobilize them and motivate them to come and join the party. 1984, Jesse Jackson was able to do that with a nationwide move, and that slogan was "Run, Jesse, Run." And as time moved on, it was "Win, Jesse, Win." You know, so it really. the coattails
But
of
do
that.
you think that this community is tired of politicians that make these promises and say, I'm going to
That's
help,
why they
I'm
don't
going to do this
participate.
in the community.
That's exactly why
And
they
then
don't
nothing
Nothing
at
changes
all
and nothing happens.
happens.
Yeah, even with people who look like them. And things don't change.
Right.
So, that doesn't help the situation, because when you look at your own and they seem to not have the concern that you want them to have, knowing that they know the plight, they know why it's important to have the kind of leadership and positions that are going to be giving the community hope, and not getting it, it just further devastates the voters. Why should we want to do that? They're going to do the same thing. There's no different from this one to that one. So we have to have a victory from folks like ourselves in this room who really understand what needs to happen, and just kind of forge a victory some way or another to make it happen, and then turn around on the other side and then educate the folks about the success of what you did. In 1991, I was involved with a group of people who put together an election piece for school board elections, and we elected 13 African American school board members right here in this Fresno area. Some of the districts had never had African Americans on them before, and we did it with the surprise element of the absentee ballot. We had almost 1,400 people to vote by mail, and it tremendously impacted those little school districts that are out in the rural area. And it just shocked folks that we were able to do that. And when it happened, it sent shockwaves all up and down the state, because if these folks can do this in a small community like Fresno, in the West Fresno community, what happens if they replicate this throughout the state and they start mobilizing all of the votes in their communities? Man, they're going to be a force to reckon with. Right. So, of course, the system had to do what the system did, was let's snatch that down and let's make them start over again.
Now,
Fresno County needs leaders who will fight for our community values. That's family farmer Brian Pacheco. Brian will fight for new jobs and to deliver water to our farms and family. And he'll work with law enforcement leaders to crack down on gangs and violent crime. Brian Pacheco, small business owner, school board member, our choice for supervisor.
I'm Brian Pacheco, and I would be honored to receive your vote.
AMP-TV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the Black media sources in the Valley. Stay up or set your DVR for AMP-TV programming on KC24 from 1 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Let us be your source for what's happening in the Black community. Saturday at 1 a.m. on KC24.
AMP-TV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, along with
Lennice Najib.
And we just got through hearing an excerpt of Valley Black Talk Radio on 1680 AM. Again, they're going to be having guests on the show,
yes,
and we'll be hearing a few more episodes during our ONME Sunday Mornings program so that you can get used to hearing them. And thereafter, you'll be able to listen to them on 1680 AM and go online by listening to them at 1680am.amptvnow.com. So we want to get right into our issue of discussion. Mm-hmm. We always go through our national Black news headlines, and this was a headline that you brought to my attention. Mm-hmm. And it's really, I'll say it's jam-packed, it's very opinionated, and it's by Philip Jackson,
yes,
that wrote the article. Mm-hmm. And he says that lynching young Black boys without ropes and trees, that's what this topic is about. Mm-hmm. And, what does he mean by that? And I think his whole headline that Philip Jackson talked about, and this was last month. Now it says lynching young Black boys without ropes and trees. Now they are lynched with schools and prisons, but the results are still the same.
Yes, we look into the proficiency level of young Black African American boys in Chicago, and they are 9% proficient reading.
Okay.
That is horrible.
Right.
And they went into the studies of that, stating that with low reading scores, or if they're not able to read, they either venture off into violence in gangs or in penitentiaries.
Okay.
So that leads us to believe is a different form of lynching, is a different form of a slave mentality that they
Some people might say that's too strong. Do you think the terminology that Philip Jackson uses, is it too strong? That this is a form of lynching? Some would say, you know, in 2014, really, are you really saying those terms? Just asking.
Well, you got to look at the results. Look at the outcome.
But the reason why I bring that up as well, because I feel that even as a community, we should be doing more. Meaning our black churches, I don't know how many churches there are here in the Central Valley.
What do you feel that the church can do?
They can do a lot. They can be more involved. And I know even on Valley Black Talk Radio, we talked about the need for churches to be more involved in politics. You have to be involved in politics. And I know people like to keep religion and politics separate, but things like that will change if we are involved in politics.
Well, we already know politics is already in the church. But it's already in the church.
In the church. But now on a local level, our church is involved in politics in their local communities. If you want to see change, how do you expect it to come about? What are we asking for? Someone to do it for us? Are we asking for the government to do that for us? No, we need to be a part of that change and be a part of that governmental change so they can understand what needs to be changed. Sometimes people just can't see it. And so I still think that churches and organizations need to do more in being a part of advocacy and doing policy changes and understanding what it means to change policy and getting our community motivated about policy and why it's important to be a part of that arrangement when we're looking at local politics. I also feel that it is up to us to be able to have more community and peer groups where we can foster that, where we can put our monies into that. If we are true business owners, looking at black businesses and organizations, we got to put our money where our mouth is. Why aren't we putting more dollars into a program or organization that we know can legitimately do programs that are after school programs that can assist with these challenges that students are having in core classes such as math and English?
Well, for the audience that are listening to this right here, I mentioned that it was 9% in Chicago, but this is nationwide. It's happening in San Diego where it's 7% proficient reading. It happened in DC where it's 6% proficient.
Detroit is 5%, right?
6% proficient at reading. And I
in
believe
American worldwide, we're saying nationwide would be 10%.
In Cleveland, it's 3%.
Right.
3% of African American boys are proficient.
But I still challenge then what are the local communities doing? And I'm not saying we can't solve all the problems, but that has to be a start. It's great for us to have these percentages. It's great to be able to discuss it and to be able to look at where we are, but that should put a kick in our rear end saying, we got to do something. We can't just keep sitting back and saying, well, the education system needs to do something. If they were able to do something, it would have already been done.
Well, it goes into the politics of you saying the black vote. The black vote is not looked at as favorably. I know locally.
We don't look at the black vote as favorable ourselves.
Yes, so it's right now we dealing with a situation where the power is not, they're not recognizing the power that's in the black community.
Or the black community is not recognizing the power within themselves. I have to go back to that because about self-maintenance, because if we look at, because we are consumers. We are a consuming ethnic group.
Yes.
We consume in the billions of dollars nationwide. Even in the Valley, we're millions of dollars.
More or less nationwide, I say maybe in the low trillions. We had $1 trillion level in the nation.
I made that mistake.
And here,
California-wide is billions.
California-wide, or you could say just locally, just in the Valley, we're about $3 to $4 billion as a consumer.
So if we can put those dollars and we're consuming and we're spending, we know what we're spending on. We're not spending it obviously in our education, so if we're going to complain about something, I'm just saying as a caveat to that, we need to have a side counterpart. We need to have after school programs. We need to be doing for ourselves. We need to be helping African American businesses. And I think I told you when we were having a side conversation about economics.
We complain about what we need to do and how we need to do it and everything, but
we also complain about why
is it not being done? Listen, it's a drastic emergency right now.
True indeed.
These young black men are dying.
Right. Okay. And what are we doing about it is what I'm asking you. What are we as a community, what can you see that we're doing about it?
As a community, if we don't have the power and we don't have the finance,
we can't look at that anymore. We already know where we're at.
We have to get that kind of help from someone.
Where?
Well, if we go to the ones that's outside of the community to also give us assistance. This is a state of emergency right now.
Okay, if it's a state of emergency, then that means every black person needs to be getting up and doing something about it, whether they're volunteering, doesn't have to be just giving money. Are they volunteering and saying, okay, I want to get with this group to help them have a mentorship because I want to go into these schools and make sure these young men have mentors. I want to make sure there is a father, some type of mentorship program, or maybe kids that need a father figure. Maybe there's some after school program. I have to go back to what we are doing, because I know we keep saying, well, we don't have the money and institutions should be giving us, and we are underrepresented and we don't have, the income like other groups. Those things might be true. I get that. But if it's truly a state of emergency, it doesn't stop us from donating our time.
So you think how long do you think this process is going to take? And how much money and how much time?
Get started. I can't determine how long it would take. I can just tell you that the process needs to be started. It's good to point out the issues. I think that's a great thing. But what are we doing about it? I want to know what Philip Jackson is doing about it. That's going to be my research for the week. Because if he's able to point that out, okay, so on the other side, that's great you're speaking about it. What are you doing to help solve the problem? Because so many times we point out the problem and we're either seeking help for someone else to do it, when really, if we don't initiate, we have to be the starter, the kickstarter of something in order for others to help. So if people don't see us helping ourselves, why would they want to step in to help as well? That's what I'm saying. So if we had different churches that had mentorship and they weren't worried about the money because we're all pitching in, we're all giving $1. Imagine if 1,000 people just gave $5.
Well, outside of the community, in a way, they helping in a way with the prison, because for every prisoner that goes into prison, it's about a $60,000 bill per prisoner.
Sure it is.
So if they housing us in these penitentiaries right now, and they don't see themselves being servants to help us get out of this condition.
But more prisons are going to be built. Are you going to stop that from more prisons being built?
Well, think about this. The young African American males will eventually go outside of the community and rob them or do a crime against their business or service. So the insurance is increasing because of the robberies.
Sure.
If anything happened as far as physical harm to outside of the community, that's a problem. And they getting hit from the penitentiary through taxes. So it's a threefold situation.
But the threefold situation still has to initiate in our community, where we have to get up and do something so that other people step in to help. That's all I'm saying.
But we've been saying that. How long have we been saying that? Other people come in and help. What is the other people?
I didn't say other people. I'm saying we need to help ourselves. That's exactly what I'm saying. We're depending on other people, because that's why he's writing this article talking about the educational system. Obviously, the educational system is not able to help those young men. Me and you were talking today. We were listening and heard the music that some youngsters were bopping their head to. It's not something that you can put on the radio even. You can't even bleep those words out, what we heard, right?
They was rhyming. I'm not going to describe it. They was rhyming to something that was just out of this.
But it tells you the mindset of where a lot of our young folks are, and they're just bopping their heads to music and turning that thing up loud and just, busting a groove, bopping their head to this loud music where everybody can hear it, and it's very distasteful. Right?
Very.
So that tells me, okay, what are we? I'm going back to what are we doing?
Very disrespectful to women. Very disrespectful to men.
I'm going to look at the big organizations. I'm going to look at the NAACPs. I'm going to look at the Nation of Islam. I'm going to look at all these organizations that have a predominance of our African American men, and I'm going to ask, what are they doing? And maybe it's time for us to really look at that and stop sheltering the burden of talking about it versus let's see who's putting it into action. And maybe that is what the next step is. And maybe we can highlight what people are doing in the community. And I know we don't have this whole program to talk about it, but bringing it up for discussion is just saying, hey, you're on our watch. We're going to be watching out for you now. We're going to be seeing, are you putting your money
so
where
you're going to put them on? You're going to put them in blast?
Yes,
you're going to blast them out? Okay.
And I'm also putting them on blast in a good way. And then also maybe those organizations that can be doing more. For our young people, because we can't keep talking about these statistics. We've known about these statistics. We've known about what we have a lack of funding, a lack of this and a lack of that, lack of education. So we have to start to bring that education ourselves.
We must hold our politicians accountable?
No, we have to hold, this is where it begins first. We have to hold our own Black community accountable first if they are not registered to vote. So when we looked at what was happening in Ferguson, Missouri, I'm just giving an example, and they talked to that young panel, and all of those youngsters who were 18 and up were not registered to vote.
Well, think about it. If they can't read, and they're not proficient in reading.
The people that they interviewed on this panel were able to read.
Okay, but how are you going to get someone that don't have no faith and no trust in the system to vote? They don't.
I got you.
I met people that have never voted in their life, and this is what 150 years from slavery of African American here in this country, and they still don't have the knowledge or the understanding of the power of a vote.
Someone still has to have hope. We have to hope that the system can change, but we can only see if the system works if everybody is in the system doing it.
In their mind, they said, what is the use of my vote?
Because every vote counts, especially at a local level. Every vote counts.
Yes.
Locally, you can see it. It's so noticeable. You can't say that local votes do not count.
So a vote can change that young Black man's life.
Yes, it can, because now you're changing the educational leadership. Whoever the boards are in those educational institutions and that are head of those districts, yes, it can change. Yes, then they'd be able to point out, hey, why I can go to this representative and say, you know, there's only 8% in Detroit of African Americans, men's being able to, or young boys, I should say, being able to read. I want to know why this is. I want to know what you're doing about it. Yes, because now you can complain to your district leaders. You have the power of the vote. You have to register to vote. If we're going to complain about the system, you have to be part of the system and at least be involved in it, so then you can at least go back to complaining about the system. That's how I look at it. And we don't have enough time in this program to talk about it, but I'm glad we got to touch on it, and it's something we're going to revisit.
Yes, we have to.
I just think if you're going to put it on the table and talk and use strong language about lynching, modern day lynching, I'm okay with that as long as you have the documentation to back it up and show me the organizations that are doing something or alternatives. It's always about alternatives. What are we doing as a community? That's all I'm saying. I wasn't trying to get the last word. Was there anything else you wanted to add and close out on that thought?
No, you did a very good job. You did a very good job.
Well, we'd like to thank you for watching this heated up episode of ONME Sunday Mornings. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. In fact, please enjoy the rest of your week. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, along with
Lennice Najib.
Have a wonderful week.
AMP-TV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the Black media sources in the Valley. Stay up or set your DVR for AMP-TV programming on KC24 from 1 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Let us be your source for what's happening in the Black community. Saturday at 1 a.m. on KC24.